Nitai ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So beautifully singing with us. I guess there will be an announcement now by our chief.
Thank you, Ananda Chaitanya Prabhu. Such ecstatic kirtan. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Welcome to all of you. Herzlich willkommen zu unserem Sonntagsfest. First of all, I would request you to please move a little bit forward. There's a lot of space here, also in front. There is still people coming in the back. Gibt's jemand, der kein Englisch versteht? Okay, we'll do it in English then. Anyone here for the first time? Yes? Welcome. Thank you for coming. So now we're going to have a lecture. Some discussion about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And we are very happy to have with us today Jananivas Prabhu. Haribo! Möchtest du dich hinsetzen? Jananivas Prabhu, he joined Krishna consciousness in this temple in 2009. And he didn't stay for so long, unfortunately, for us. But fortunate for him, he went with his spiritual master, His Holiness Kadamba Kanna Swami, and he was with him for around 3 years as a personal servant, traveling all over the world, assisting him. And after that he has been in Australia. He was a yoga teacher, and now he's in Germany, where he's originally from, and he's working in the care of autistic people, and he's having a family also meanwhile. They're here? Not here? His wife Lokapavani Mataji and the daughter Thea Tulasi. Hopefully they will come. Last time she came on the Vyasa-san, so let's see what's going to happen this time. Thank you, Jananivas Prabhu, for coming. And ich überlasse es dir. Gut, Hare Krishna.
It's the small things in life, that matter. Huh? Nein, das war nicht so. So fortgeschritten sind wir noch. Hare Krishna, nice to be here again. This is my second chance to say something. And the topic today is about karma. I wanted to give it a fancy title so you feel it's interesting. So we called it Are Karma Resolving the Fruits of Love and Hatred? So we'll look a little bit into karma from maybe hopefully a little bit new perspective. And for that, I want to use the opportunity to make a little exercise before we actually start, because we just had an hour of, I would say, sublime kirtan of one of my favorite kirtaniers. So that was lucky. Hare Krishna. Sorry, he's still there. He's feeling ashamed. But anyway, we had an hour of continuous kirtan, and I'd just like you, especially if you're not so used to singing kirtan, to just take a moment, just like maybe 10 seconds or so in silence, and just take a moment to observe your mind. And just notice maybe any difference. You've just been sitting here, maybe for an hour, maybe for half an hour, continuously chanting. And this is a practical exercise that will be important later in class. So you can only do the experiment now. I don't want to spoil it with my singing now. So we can just take a moment to observe your mind. You know yourself, you know your thought process, you know how you work. And just take a moment to feel like, how do I feel? How does my mind work? What's going on inside after the moment of kirtan? So just for a moment, please close your eyes and just take a look inside. And then note down to yourself just anything you can maybe observe that's maybe a bit different. It may even be the little detail that looking inside is a lot more pleasant and easy than it was otherwise, but make your own observation. And then we'll sing a little bit more just to attract the blessings of the Lord. And there's a beautiful song called Jai Radha Madhava. That's the lyrics, so we can all sing along. It's a little meditation actually on the spiritual world. Basically it's a depiction of the altar in front there. It's talking about Radha and Madhava. Okay, they're not directly here, but Jagannath is here. And and their pastimes and their pleasure grounds. And Sanskrit, it's a really nice language because Sanskrit is the language that speaks for itself. If you really listen to the words, then we will understand them even though the mind might not follow. So that's a really good benefit because, Sanskrit even, saintly script, you can explain the language to yourself if you just listen closely. So we can try and hear that song with the heart. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rachachana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vana Chari Yamuna Tira Vana Chari Yamuna Tira Vana Chari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Prachajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prachajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prachajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari. Oh Hare Krishna, oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, oh Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, hey Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, hey Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey Prabhupada, oh Prabhupada, hey Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, hey Prabhupada, Jaya Srila, oh Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, hey Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Yakya ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Madhava ki Jai, Jai Jai. Okay. Another opportunity to do this little experiment and just check what the mind's doing. And then into the silence of the mind, we can invite another little mantra. If you'd like, you can chant after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. nice. Sometimes it's almost feels like disturbing to speak like English thoughts after the kirtan, because a really nice thing I've heard from my teacher is that kirtan or mantra is silence, because then the mind is never silent, and if we submerge it into mantra, then it actually becomes completely still in the sound. So it's nice. True silence. So for on the topic, I'm going to chant a little verse that I really like, and that is I don't understand myself very well, because it's from the Brahma Samhita. So it's sung from Brahma, and Brahma is sort of personality. He's made out of pure intelligence. So you will quickly notice I'm not made out of pure intelligence. So it's sometimes hard to follow his words, but it's giving a nice tone for the topic of today. So I'll just chant the verse. And it's Brahma Samhita 554. Yastvindra gopa matavendra mahosva karma bandhana rupa falabhajanam atoni karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, Govindamadi Purusham, who burns up the roots of all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each of us the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who walk in the path of work, in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works. No less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, king of the Devas. So that's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati writing. His English is very, it's like, okay, that's some English. Apparently he had a, how do you say that? Photographical memory. And apparently he learned English by studying the dictionary. So then he wrote his texts by all the vocabulary in the dictionary, not maybe being fully aware that maybe 30% of these words are actually used in English. So sometimes his texts are really like, what is he writing about? And he's actually not a foreign speaker. So apparently when they studied his texts, they sort of also translated it into like an understandable English from his English. So that's the mind of the people that we learn from. It's nice. So basically what the verse is saying is that this Lord Govinda can burn up the root of all fruitive activities that we've ever performed, and we're going to get to that. And also, though, impartially gives for each person who is in the path of work, and work really meaning that we do something in this world. And I guess we're all sort of doing something right now, like sitting or breathing or still eating something that's left, or I don't know, sleeping. We all do sort of activities. And he awards, according to our activities now, connected to our previous activities that we might not even be aware of because we've forgotten or it's been in a previous life. He gives the appropriate results, and that bears, and I really like that from how he says, that counts for the small insect called Indragopa, like the small ant crawling around, or Indra himself, who, if you don't know, is sort of Zeus in the Vedic tradition, so the head of all the demigods, as we might refer to them. So a very, very great and important higher dimensional being in this earth, in this universe. So everyone in this universe falls under this category. So basically, following the path of work, Brahma is saying. And if we now go to the topic of the class, we today talk about karma. And actually, if we translate karma from Sanskrit, then this is exactly what it means. It's actually just an activity, work, a doing, something that we do. As we said, Sanskrit is a language that speaks for itself, but it's also like the root language of many languages we speak today. Both the grammatical, for example, how German or English is formed in terms of its grammar is borrowed from Sanskrit through Latin, through Greece, through Persian. There's some steps, but basically comes from Sanskrit. And also a lot of the words we speak are still there in Sanskrit. Like we had the example Sanskrit, saintly script, it's almost still the same, really, after 5,000 years. Pretty astounding. And also the word karma, how Sanskrit works is that it has like a pool of word roots. And from these roots then grow little stems, and they grow into words, which also makes Sanskrit the language with the most possible words. That is because theoretically you could create almost an unlimited amount of words combining these different roots. They say it's about 2 million that have actually been put down, but theoretically there is more. Compared to English, we use about 100,000. So it's quite an elaborate language. And also this word karma, we still find it, because the root of this word karma in Sanskrit is kri. Just like in Krishna, we have it there, kri, K-R with a dot under it. And we still have that in English words, like creation, to create, to bring something in existence. So do something that bears a result, means to create. So we still have that word. Or in increase, for example, we still find this kri. So karma in itself basically just means, an activity, work. But of course, as probably we all know and sort of indicate, when we hear karma, we hear more than just an activity. Because we sort of understand from karma a cosmic system of not only letting us act, but also providing an equal reaction for each action that we're doing. Mostly that's what we understand with karma, not just the action, but understanding logically that every action leads to a reaction. I mean, these laws have been pretty much put down, for example, in the laws of physics. We know that. There is, we can calculate certain things. The pendulum, for example, with these 4 balls, you might know you take one and you hit it, and then pretty much in equal measure there's something lost, but we can trace what is lost, so it's not really lost, is a reaction on the other side, comes back, reacts on one side. This is sort of a nice little metaphor to the karmic idea. Although karma has yet another dimension compared to the normal laws of physics, because the normal laws of physics, they are basically completely neutral. They are just a plain reaction. In the normal laws that we observe in this world, moral doesn't really play a role. Intention doesn't really play a role. Like gravity works equal in every situation, and the reaction is equal in every situation. If I put a stone up the hill and I look it down the hill, I can't go like, oh, this stone has been rolling really virtuously, or this stone's rolling is really sinful. We don't do that. That's like not something that comes up. The stone just rolls. And if it falls on my head while rolling, then it's like, bad luck. But it's not like this stone, I'm going to take revenge. No, it doesn't. Like the normal laws of physics, they're just basically completely neutral. There is no, metaphysical element involved, one could say. Yet they serve as a good example or idea because in a sense, they are karma on a completely material level, where the mind is not involved in the things in a sense. For example, my body reacts according to physics, so this is also, of course, karma. This is like going on in this material world. But in karma, it's a little bit different because it's a moral law where our intentions are counted in. So in physics, when there is 2 equal events, 2 stones rolling down, then we can calculate it. We can say definitely there's no difference in these 2 actions. But in karma it's interesting because we can have externally 2 times exactly the same action that yet bear a different karma. And this is where karma gets really abstract and tricky because it somehow or other calculates our intention, right? So for example, let's make it drastic. We go through the streets and it's night and there's no one around whatsoever, no person around. And there is some person on the floor being critically hurt. Some or other, maybe a car accident, something, but no one's there. There's just this person and us. So obviously, it's our duty to try and help. And we might try and help and really do our best, and we might not have a medical education, and therefore we might just be there, say nice words to the man, maybe, I don't know, just make it a little bit gory, try to stop the bleeding, just like, oh, please stay with me. call the help, we can do the best we can. And maybe we are unlucky and the person passes away. Right? We can maybe even like make it a little bit more. We try to like make the resurrection. We sort of hammer on the person's chest. Right? Doesn't help. We tried our best. Passes away. So basically, we were part and observing a person passing. But our intention of the work of helping, even though we didn't actually help because we didn't have the knowledge to help, is fully counted in our action. If though there's a similar person passing by, a same situation, and that person is also seeing, hey, there's a person almost, really hurt, and the same person goes also, and sits next to the person and maybe has, I don't know, there is people have fun and maybe makes even fun of the person, doesn't call for help, doesn't actually help in any active sense, the person passes too. Two situations, two people sitting next to the person, 2 times is the result that the person is dying, it leave his body, but the one person is basically intentionally trying to help, trying to uplift the person, whereas the other person is not intentionally trying to do so. And even though from an outstanding point of view, the people in the interaction might look very similar, the intention makes it completely different. So that the one person is creating positive karma, trying to help, which in Sanskrit is called sukarma, uplifting karma. And the other person creating negative karma, vikarma, trying to maybe make it worse or at least not helping at all. We have this principle also described, for example, in the Bible. Jesus talks about this famous metaphor of 2 people standing on the field doing the work, externally the same. One is going to heaven, the other one is going to hell. Very simple example of, yes, they're doing exactly the same work. So externally they're engaged in the same activity, but intentionally they are doing their work for a different reason. And one person might do it for selfish reasons, the other person for selfless reasons. So this is quite outstanding that there is a mechanism that can detect intention. Right? I mean, like, we as humans, we might have a little sense of detecting intention, but it's very minimal. For example, you might listen to me and smile to me in the lecture, and internally you might decide, in the beginning you thought, oh, who is this guy? This sounds interesting. I'll listen a little bit and I'll be attentive and I'll smile a little bit. And then after a while you hear me waffling and you go like such an idiot, you know. But you don't want to sort of reveal it, so you keep on smiling. So you might externally, from my point of view, look exactly the same, but your intention listening to me might have changed from benevolent to, I don't know about this guy. I might not be able to pick that up at all, I might suspect it, but I cannot read your intention. But in order for the law of karma to work, there has to be an institution, something that is basically scanning intention. Because of course, if the question of karma comes up, one question that really comes up, and that is really sort of worth pondering, is it fair? Is karma a fair law? Is it something that actually holds up to being, fair? And it's an important question because basically karma is pointing at a moral law. And as a society, how do we check our morals? We have great narratives that have accompanied humanity. Christianity, for example, is a big one. Back in the Greek time, they had the Odyssey and Ilias, where there's a lot of teachings involved, moral teachings that we sort of base ourselves on. But in nowadays society, we've lost a little bit the grasp on great narratives. Diversity has really taken place. And diversity, if it goes a little bit too far, it might end in some chaos. So that now in society, we pretty much don't have a common ground of what's good and what's bad. Okay, there is certain things, if you punch me in the face, most people will probably agree it's not a great thing to do. But in the deeper, more refined ideas of morals, like what do we base our understanding on? What is a good deed, what is a bad deed? And you see it, for example, in modern politics, the opinions go like completely opposed. And the one people say this, and the other say this. And if we don't have a common ground where we can actually check back on what is right and what is wrong, it's really hard to work with this and live in this world. So, is karma actually fair? And if karma is fair, then who makes sure it is? Right? Karma is getting quite popular now, also in our society. Most people have heard of it. Many people that are actually not maybe so deeply into yogic or Vedic thought go like, oh, it's my karma. It almost became like a common word that we use in everyday life. Most people know, yeah, karma, sort of understand what it is. Oh, it's my karma. Karma, nix machen, sagt man in Deutsch. So, yeah, we get the, can't translate that, sorry. But it's becoming a bit more common. And of course, probably one reason why it became very common is also because of the popularity that we've seen of Buddhist thought, right? Like, yes, we have karma in our Vedic tradition, and Buddhism is though one tradition, for example, that also really talks and teaches karma. And many people that hear karma connected to Buddhism, which is fine. I mean, Buddha itself is a Sanskrit word. It originates from the Vedic tradition, so we have same principles. And to look at karma from a Buddhistic point of view is sort of interesting because there, of course, is the big discussion within Buddhism, and it's not a black and white answer to it. There's different teaching and schools of Buddhism, but it's the big discussion if there is a self or if there's no self, if there's a God or if there is no God. And it's actually really interesting because, of course, they say that Buddha was teaching that there is no self, and the second sermon is called the Sermon of the Non-Existence of the Self. But interestingly enough, if you study and read the sermon, Buddha actually doesn't say that. And scholars have noticed that the sermon that is titled The Non-Existence of the Self doesn't actually make the point. For guys that are interested in studying that stuff up, it's quite interesting. And so Buddhism is also split, and one big reason why it's split is that philosophy of karma. Because if karma is basically the idea that for every action I get a reaction, and that transfers also throughout my soul journey, throughout my journey through this material world. If someone really dropped in for the first time, the basic teachings of yoga is that we are not this body, but we are the consciousness within the body, observing the changes of the body, that the body is like a little machine, like a car we step into to accompany us on our journey. And at one point the car breaks down, we have to get out and walk on, or get a motorcycle or a bike or fancier car. So the idea in the Vedic, the basic teaching is that we are not this body, but we are spirit that is traveling from body to body. And with the context of karma, the idea is that any action that I decide to do locked into this three-dimensional material world bears a reaction. And this reaction I have to carry out. I can't escape it even through death. So if I leave my body and I continue in a new body, the karmic seeds, bija in Sanskrit, or aprarakta karma, it's also referred to, like non-manifested karma, I carry on to my next body and have to live it out. And so this is also the idea in Buddhism, but the thing is, if there is no self, then who gets the karma? Tricky question. And then from the other perspective, if karma as we defined it is basically judged by its intention performed, so that we can perform two actions that look completely similar, but might bear a very different reaction. Like even an act of violence. Some guy might shoot another guy and go to jail. Some other guy might shoot another guy and get a medal for it. Like we understand this, right? Like that, depending on the intention of my action, there is some difference. But if it's the intention that counts, then who is keeping score? Right? Who, in order to have basically, you imagine like Brahma in his verse was saying this counts from the small insect to Brahma, to Indra, to like one of the greatest individuals. So that's a lot of people. God. Like, can anyone guess how many living entities are in this room? We can count the humans, that's a good start. But that's probably just like, I don't know, it's probably trillions. Even in our own body, like we have, like a friend of mine, Graf from Texas, he would always go like, how's your colony? He wouldn't say body, he would say colony. Because it is, right? We are like a mix of, isn't it? He would go, thick Texan accent. How's your colony, mate? It's like, okay, yeah, it's doing well, my colony. Yeah. But it's like that. No, we are not one. We are many, many beings. In this room are many, many beings. And if we look between the ant and Indra, how many beings there are, man, that's a lot of beings. Like we would be utterly incapable of counting how many living entities are there even. Impossible. Now imagine keeping track of every action and keeping track of the intention of every action of every living being. That's pretty good. So what we need in order for that to even work at all is a superconsciousness. It's a consciousness that is sort of aware of everything that is going on. Right? So this was the other big discussion, or probably still is, within the Buddhist reigns. Is there this super consciousness or not? There is Buddhist strains which are basically atheistic. They say no, there is no spirit, there is no God. It's basically just karma, and the karma is like really a physical impulse where, again, one ball hits the next, so I reincarnate, and then if I sort of manage to stop that impulse of karma, my existence ceases. Nirvana, I leave the forest, that's it, I'm done, I stop existing. This is one sort of teaching. The problem with this is that if that's the case, then that means basically karma is fully automatical, and then we get into real philosophical problems, like if karma means that every action is also meant for the other person to happen, and there is no person doing it and no person keeping track, then if I go around and start shooting people, I could say, well, they deserved it, otherwise I couldn't have done it. It's not what I'm saying, it's really not my philosophy, don't please, like they do in politics now, they cut out little quotes and please don't do that on this, some YouTube short, go around shooting people, no, don't do that. So for us it doesn't add up, because we understand that if karma makes sense, it has to be utterly fair. In that sense, it is mechanical, because every action bears a fair result. It's just that it's not just the physical external action, but the metaphysical intention. So this is really interesting, because that sort of means that karma needs God. Karma needs a consciousness that is involved in everyone, that is aware of everything, and that is personal, being able to react and to interact. Otherwise, it's really hard to understand how it would work, how it could actually work. I mean, even physical laws are like that, right? Prabhupada, who's sitting there, very nice gentleman, he was already saying that. Well, we're talking about the laws of physics. If we talk about a law, then logically we need to talk about a law maker, a lawgiver. It's already an interesting thought. But that certainly counts. If we go beyond physical, measurable, here is gravity, and that's how it works, and gravity works equally for everyone. There's this joke, like the yogi, the karmi, and the jnani are on the hill and they jump. Anyway, it's not a good joke. who falls the quickest? Well, they do at the same time, right? These physical laws, they work in really a mechanical way. But if we go to karma, we have this metaphysical aspect where we really need an instance that works with it. So it's really interesting because, karma, to be really philosophically sound, needs a super consciousness. And I'll just dare to call that God, the G word, but we'll just do it. We can also say Krishna, that's also nice. And it's really interesting because karma is dependent on an existence of a super consciousness, of something that is able to track every single intention. But really interestingly enough, it also works the other way around. Because why is there even karma? I mean, who came up with the idea and what's its purpose? And to maybe answer that a little bit, we have to maybe zoom out a little bit and wonder, well, if the yogis are true, we just said it in a nutshell, but if the yogis are right and we are really not this body, but a spirit soul that is entering the body in order to create, to go through a certain experience or whatever the reason may be, then why would we do that? Why is that experience even there? And I'll maybe start a little bit answering that question, because this topic of karma, it solves one big theological problem that is discussed up to today very vigorously, and there is many talks about that. Of course, for example, one religion that is very prominent is Christianity, and we have often, not in all Christian strains, but often the idea of that we have been created in this life, first life ever, out of nothing, and then we go through this life, and afterwards we go to heaven or hell. And then, of course, one of the big discussions that comes up is equality. Why are we then not all having the exact equal chance to be successful or unsuccessful in this life? We have this big question of what's with the poor kids in Africa, for example, that never get a chance to meet Jesus, to stay now with this example. But you could do it with many systems of thought. Like, this is really one of probably the most prominent and biggest theological questions. Is God fair? And of course, analyzing this idea of superconsciousness based on maybe, for example, one birth, without the idea of karma, most philosophers, many German philosophers, come to the conclusion either God is evil, God is dead. We have Nietzsche, God is dead. There's this, in Berlin, there's this bridge, and they wrote in big letters, God is dead, Nietzsche. And someone wrote under it, Nietzsche is dead, God. Yeah, okay, good. Sorry, Nietzsche, but it's true. And then, of course, or God didn't ever exist at all. That's just another explanation. So that's sort of the conclusion where many hint at. Why does God allow evil in the world? That's the question, isn't it? It's a big question in the theology. The key is under the mat. Zum Papa laufen. Damodak already announced you that you will come to Papa. So this is little Thea Tulasi, daughter, and my wife. Yeah. So basically, to not go too long, only to go long, but basically, there is one way that evil deeds are justified, and that is sort of, to say like that, to prevent a greater evil. Like, for example, my little daughter just walked in, and she learns, where are my boundaries, right? And sometimes as a father or as a mother, we have to like do evil to her, like say no, or hold her in place, or sometimes she might really not do something, but it's required for her health or so, and I might even have to like fixate her for a moment so that my wife can do something or change a diaper or whatever, right? And she's like, I don't want that, but we understand, okay, we're just creating suffering for her, but we're doing it so that actually it's for her benefit. So there is a way to do that, right? So in this train of thought, what could be an argument that is God, by allowing evil in this world, is preventing a deeper evil? And the deeper evil that I can immediately think of would be to strip off us of our free will. Like, the thing is, if God is all conscious, then he knows that there is suffering. He understands why there is suffering. If he's good, which is the claim, then he wants to help us prevent that suffering. And if he's all capable, then he can prevent the suffering. But he's not doing it. So, therefore, again, the conclusion must be evil, must be dead, must never have existed. Or turn it around a little bit, because the teaching of karma really leads us to take full responsibility for our own actions. So, again to the question, why might we want to come into this material world? Well, it might be so that we can make an experience that we cannot make in another world. That we, as we have all the experience, we've taken this birth. As you've all been sitting here, you maybe had doubts that this is your only birth. For some it's very clear, they even have memories, or for some it's, it's quite an obvious thing. So, left and right in a moment. So then we need to execute We might have a desire. We might have a desire to go somewhere else and experience something that we cannot experience if we are in full consciousness of who we actually are. This is a little bit the idea. We do that actually also in modern life. We might, for example, watch a movie. And in order to watch a movie and really have fun with it, we are consciously and voluntarily moving into ignorance. Because we are sitting there in front of a wall where there's light projected to, and we're getting really emotionally involved, even though that actually, if we would stay aware, we would know this is all just actors, and this is all just like made up, and none of this is real. But if we would be in that consciousness, we couldn't enjoy the movie, right? So similarly, there might be a reason why we wanted to become forgetful of our true self, because then we could actually experience something that we couldn't experience if we had the knowledge we normally have intrinsically within our soul. So if there is a desire, therefore, to experience, to be something that we are not. And I mean, didn't you all have that desire? Like as a child, I always had the desire that I could like transform into like a bird or something and be that. Or even like I would play a lot of computer games, and I felt like it would be so cool if I actually would be in the computer game and forget that I play it so that I'd be fully absorbed. So that's sort of a natural desire, and God being omnipotent, he might actually have fulfilled that. The thing is, it only really works is that within this structure, we can actually make independent decisions according to our free will, according to our curiosity, according to what we want to experience. So then there is a task. My dear God, I want to like experience, for example, a life without you. Because this is really amazing. Like sometimes the argument is made, God allows suffering, so God is evil. I would like to turn that argument around. Now imagine, like, there's not so much mugging going on in Zurich. Like some stealing. Is there like cases where people come at night and rob someone? Yeah, it happens also here. Okay. Yes, there we go, material world for you. So let's imagine you walk through the streets, and because you know that Zurich is a dangerous place, you're armed. You have a gun with you, just for your protection. It's a bit intense class today. You're walking around, and then some guy comes and goes like, "Hey, give me your money." And you're like, "Well, I have a gun." And the guy's like, "Oh, I don't have a gun. Oh, that's bad. Can I maybe borrow your gun? And just while I rob you, I can give it back later." What would be your answer? Unless you're a crazy man, probably like, what? No. So, dear God, can I have an experience completely independent of you? Yeah, we can do that. We can create a material world where you can basically forget your true identity in order to experience something you've never experienced. Well, that's great. Can I maybe also forget you? Yeah, that's possible. And can I maybe even argue and make philosophies completely against you? We can even like call them atheism, for example. It's like, sure, oh God, but I don't actually have any intelligence. But you're sort of the source of intelligence, so could I maybe borrow your intelligence in order to make arguments against you? Okay, so from that perspective, if that person then says, okay, I mean, that's really not what I want, obviously, but if that is really your desire, if that is really what you want, I'm going to make it happen for you. I'm going to create a reality where you can even take my resources, my elements, my intelligence, my mind, in order to create a philosophy that is against me. Fine, I'll grant you that. Is that evil? Hard to answer, no? Is it love if I chain you to my chair and say, yeah, I love you so much, I won't let you go anywhere. You are mine now. No, true love means, hey, I love you so much that even if you want to do something that is really, I feel really, it hurts me, but you want to do it. I mean, parents probably know that. The children want to go to Australia for a year. Yeah, but they want to do it for their experience, so I'm going to pay for it, because even though I'm going to be separated from my child for an entire year, there's going to be suffering, I'm going to be so worried, I don't know what's going on over there, it's on the other side of the earth, but I'm going to pay for it, I'm going to make it happen. I mean, you can think about it, it's sort of a bit of a different perspective. using God's gun to rob him. That's pretty selfless, I'd say. So, but then also it needs to stay fair, because God is in complete balance, he's completely equipoised. And of course this material world is a part of him. So if we enter this material world, the material world keeps the point zero, keeps completely balanced, and we don't have the power to change that. Therefore, if we change the order of this material world, if we basically get a peak in, a positive one or a negative one, then naturally, in order for Krishna, in order for the whole existence to keep its perfect balance, which we can experience through this entire universe. I mean, look at this universe, right? There is this story of Newton, apparently, where, like a friend, he was at a congress of science, and they were outside and looked at the stars, and they went like, wow, the stars, amazing, like look at all of this, and how it works, and all, it's perfect, and the whole mechanism, and imagine it's all by chance. Right? And then Newton invited that, I don't know if the story is true, it's a nice story, invited that professor home, and at home apparently he had like a perfect or pretty perfect model of the universe that was just there. And the professor was like, wow, that's amazing, and like played with it, and you could like turn a wheel and it would like, it's like mind blown. It's like, wow, who made that? That's amazing. And Newton went like, no one made that. It just was there. It's like, yeah, okay, come on, like who? No, it's just came up, right? And then he was like, stop fooling with me. And he says, wow, you're saying if there's a little model of the universe on my table, you say, you don't believe me, you think I'm completely fooling you if I say it just came about. But if you look at the real thing, which is way more complex than what I have here, you go like, yeah, that's by chance. Right? So we have this perfectly balanced universe, and if we now entered this universe and basically give a peak, either a positive, sukarma, or a negative, a vikarma, then the universe has to balance it back out. And with the universe, I mean the consciousness of the universe, which is the supreme consciousness, which is Krishna. In order for it, basically, if I step on your head, you at the same time have to step on my head as well. But that's not possible. So there we get time to separate the moment. We get past and future, because we can't do it at the same time. So I do it now, you do it actually also now, from the no time perspective, but from our time perspective, because in the three-dimensional it's not possible that two things happen at the same time like that. They get separated through time, like that. So this karma is basically making sure that we can have this experience within this material world due to our desire of experiencing something that is not, which in Sanskrit, by the way, that which is not is Maya. You might have heard this word. Very bad, Maya. No, but Maya is actually also, a wonderful experience. Otherwise, we wouldn't choose it to a certain degree. We choose to have this experience of the material world. Then karma is basically Krishna's way of solving the problem of equality. That yes, you can do whatever you want to do, but you have to do it with the consequences. And that is actually also something wonderful, because we were saying a greater evil than forbidding evil is to strip us of our free will. Because an individual without free will is not really an individual. But then also free will within this world and action according to free will only really is made from free will if it bears consequences. If I tell you you can have a free will, but if you jump from the cliff, nothing happens, well, then you don't actually have the free will to jump from the cliff. Again, such an intense example. I don't know what's wrong with me. But maybe it makes the point stronger. So, right? So in order to actually have free will and to have the opportunity to act fully, consequences have to be there. Otherwise, God would be fooling us. We're just going, you can play a little bit, but there's no consequences. No, then the action wouldn't actually work. So we get consequences for every of our actions, and it's good that we're getting consequences, because karma for us can also be a very positive experience. It is almost a philosophy of life. My teacher that I was traveling with, when he would talk about karma, he said it makes so much sense that even if it's not true, he would still believe it, because it helps him to become a better person. Because if I actually say that whatever happens to me, whatever I experience, is my own doing, it brings me to the platform of stopping the blame game and actually take full responsibility for not only my actions but my entire existence here. And taking full responsibility is the first step of getting out. Taking full responsibility means that I understand, yes, whatever has happened to me, my karma can be like my mirror. Because we might not be able to remember our previous activities, but our previous activities always stem through consciousness. Action always means the final result of consciousness. If I have a certain, for example, I will act to a stress situation differently depending on my level of consciousness. I might run away, I might stand for it, I might act positively, I might act negatively. So if I just observe my own actions, the way I act, the way I react, I can start learning a lot of myself because I understand the way I react is not random, the way I react is programmed by myself through my previous actions. If you're wondering how to find out about your karma, look into your mirror. The face that we are looking is our own doing. This is karma. What I'm able to say is karma. The words that come out is karma, is my action, and is only possible due to previous actions. The limitations, the possibilities, is my own doing. So I can take responsibility about where I am and who I am. So if we therefore been like a little person, curious about what experiences are there within existence, and have thus gone through a soul journey through this world, having positive and negative actions, experiences, and reactions. And I come to the point of actually realizing that, of actually starting to question this game. Then we learn from our teachers, it's probably the time where the soul starts to wake up and starts to wonder, is this actually what I want to do? Or is there maybe even a way out? So we were talking about sukh karma and big karma, that if we're in this world, we are acting, and depending on our intention, the action either bears positive or negative results. This is the rule of karma. But then there is also another karma, which is akarma. And as in Sanskrit, sometimes there's two meanings. Either it means really lazy, that I'm not interested in work, but this is not the meaning we mean. Akarma also refers to that we start to perform actions that do not bear karma. That we start to perform actions outside of this material game. Again, these actions then are purely counted. The akarma is purely understood through the intention. So if we understand, okay, I've been in this world because my intention is to get a material illusionary experience in order to experience something I haven't, and I come to the point that maybe I'm tired of that. Maybe I'm tired of the duality. Maybe I want to wake up of this dream, as the metaphor often says. Then it's time for akarma. Then it's time to find out how we do actions that do not anymore entangle us further and bring any karmic results. And that means, just as in the beginning we decided now to move into the matter for our own purpose, for our own experience, akarma refers to when we start to perform actions that are not anymore meant for us, that are not anymore representing our selfish endeavor. I'm not counting it as good or bad, but it's selfish. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but yes, I wanted to experience this. If I wake up from the selfishness and go like, no, I'm going back out. So my actions in this world, I do not longer intentionally dedicate to myself or my family or the state or even this universe, but I start to act again for the pleasure of the person that is counting, the super consciousness that is actually keeping track. So we're going into, yes, devotional service. And if we perform actions of akarma, actions that do not result in any reaction, we immediately get a result. And the result is that, yes, like all the bubblings of the mind, we had in the last lecture, all these that the mind does all day long, they might start to cease a little bit, because they are also karma. They are created through our previous actions. the mind keeps on snapping. And that's why in the beginning, after Ananda Chaitanya's kirtan, it's asking you to take a moment. Because if we perform kirtan, and if we sing Krishna's name in, hopefully pure intention, this is a prime example of what akarma looks like and feels like. So if we stop performing karma due to this mind game and this game in the world, but for pleasing the Supreme, like we did in the beginning for almost an hour, we might get an immediate result of, peace and liberation from this material entanglement that is reigned by karma. So I hope that made a little bit sense. Time is always such a thing, it runs and then it's over. And we're already 2 minutes over. And the temple president already grabbed the mic and has it already in his lips. And
Thank you, Jananivas, for Ki Jai.
Thank you so much. I guess there's no question.
I would suggest that the guests and devotees, they can approach you privately if you have any questions. Jananivas Prabhu, thank you so much for explaining this law of karma in such a simple to grasp way with many nice examples. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening. It was fun. Haribol.
You are now invited to partake in the vegetarian feast, Prasadam feast, outside in the entrance hall. I think you all know where it is. And at 6:15 we continue here with the japa meditation. You can learn to meditate on prayer beats. This you can also do at home. It's a nice opportunity. Somebody will instruct. And then 7 o'clock we have our arati, and this will go on with kirtan, more singing, dancing till 9:30. Thank you for visiting, and Hare Krishna. Have a nice Sunday.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.